Hello, happy October. I was just filming a vlog and sort of just chatting and suddenly realised it was October and realised I need to do my September favourites or reviews, whatever we call them nowadays. So here we are. If you're new, hello, welcome. My name's Raquel and I do monthly videos where I talk about everything I've consumed, books, movies, TV shows, theatre, travel if I travel, etc, etc. And to be honest, most of the time I'm very positive about these things. Every so often there'll be something in there that I just didn't love quite as much. And I just chat about it. And then I ask you to share your favourites of the month or things you were hoping to enjoy but didn't, etc. So it's time for September, and let me tell you, we've actually got quite a lot. So let's jump into it. The first category is movies, and I've got 4, which feels like a lot. I don't think I've had that many in a while. The first movie I saw this month I saw in the cinema, and it was called Between the Temples, and it's a Jewish film, and I struggled with it. It's such a shame because I feel like it's so nice to just see a piece of Jewish cinema where they're not having to explain everything every 2 minutes. I think I've spoken about this on my channel before. I am Jewish, and there's sort of different types of things that I've seen about where something is made for the people it's made like to represent. I can't explain this. Basically, you have things like a Jewish film that is made for a Jewish audience where they don't need to explain things like Shabbat or Kiddush or Shul or anything like that. And then you've got things that are made that are a Jewish film but made for a non-Jewish audience or for a wider audience. And then everything is really being broken down or like secularized. And that can sometimes get a bit tiring. And it's the same when I'm making YouTube videos, that I'm obviously making it for a non-Jewish, well, a general audience. And by choice, I choose to explain things when I talk about them because I want people to know more about Judaism and Jewish culture and things like that. But it means that a lot of the time I need to watch myself and explain things as I'm going. So I loved the fact that this was just a piece of cinema that was made for a Jewish audience and wasn't explaining itself. And that was pretty much all I loved about it. The plot maybe would be good for people. Maybe there are people who enjoy that kind of plot. I am not one of them. I thought it was a bit weird and made me uncomfortable. I can't remember how I felt about the acting. I can't remember like what I thought of that or the directing or anything like that. But I primarily just remember feeling uncomfortable throughout the entire movie. And sometimes that's what you want, but in this case, it just really wasn't for me. Next, I have a friend with whom I've been trying to catch up on all things Marvel, and every time we think we're getting close to being caught up, new things are introduced that make us have to go back and watch lots of other things. So they've now introduced the whole X-Men universe, so we've gone back and watched all the X-Men things. So I watched X2, X-Men The Last Stand, and X-Men Origins Wolverine. To be honest, with all 3 of those, it was late at night and I was struggling to focus. I tend to find it hard to focus on Marvel things, and obviously this wasn't initially Marvel, but anything in that sort of world, it's just not something that sort of computes very clearly in my brain. So I did enjoy all 3, but I feel like if you were to ask me the plot of any of them, I wouldn't be able to tell you very much, or the characters. But I still enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to everything else within the X-Men universe that we still have to watch. On to TV shows, I've got 3. Number 1 is Not Dead Yet, and I may have mentioned this already. This is a show that the same friend and I started to watch. We always like to have the Marvel or serious show, and then the more comedic, light, easy watch. And we happened to see Not Dead Yet somewhere, I think it was, back in July. And then we took a break from watching it, and then we got back into it this month, and it's just light and easy, and you know, not even a comfort show, but just like you can throw it on late at night and not worry about like losing track of things. So I enjoyed it. And then on from that, we did finish it, so we then had the next one to look for, and my friend has been begging me to watch The Office, and I have been putting it off literally for years, and finally I was like, let's just go for it. Because obviously, I have seen hundreds of memes online, but on the whole, I feel like I've been able to avoid most of the like major spoilers. I know there is one, I think like right towards the end, that I wish would have been more of a surprise for me. But aside from that, I feel like I've not been spoiled too many things, in part because when I have seen it come up on whatever social media platform, I haven't registered it really Whereas recently, when I've known I wanted to watch it, it was harder to sort of avoid. And so I finally bit the bullet and was like, let's just watch it. And we are 3 seasons in and I actually really enjoy it. I think what was putting me off is that initially we used to have, and we might still have, the first season of the UK version on, I think, VHS even. And we would watch it, or maybe it was DVD. And like, there were things that were funny, like the Jello thing is funny, but I'm not a huge fan of Ricky Gervais. At least not the character that he plays in that show and the way he portrays it. I just don't like mean, arrogant, ignorant people. And, you know, like racist and insensitive. And so I think that was really putting me off for a while. And my friend kept saying, you just need to get through the first season. So we're watching the US version, which I think already feels a little bit better. I still don't like watching Steve. I don't know if that's his real name or the actor's or the character's name. I can't remember. I don't like watching him. I don't like what he does, but I enjoy literally everyone else, except maybe Dwight. So yeah, I'm glad we finally started on that. And then the third one is Emily in Paris season 4 part 2, because for some reason we are splitting seasons up nowadays. And let me tell you, I like Emily in Paris, again, for the mere reason that it is just easy to watch. It requires 0 brain power. And I like seeing the fancy clothes, even though I do not understand. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I like seeing Paris. I like her ideas. She's got good ideas. Yeah, I just enjoy it. It's chill. Next, on to books. I have 5 books, yay! Number 1 is One Split Second by Caroline Bonds, and I've left myself a note here, and I'm really glad I did, because I don't remember anything about this book. Or do I? I think I do. I think I thought it was a non-fiction, but actually I think it is fiction. I should have done this before I started filming, but oh well. Yeah, okay, I do remember it. So the note I left for myself was just to say, okay, but not insanely good. And I feel like I enjoyed it, but I was hoping for it to be a little bit more intense. And it wasn't as intense as I was expecting or hoping. And it didn't have quite as much suspense as I wanted. But I did enjoy it. Also, all of these were audiobooks, so just keep that in mind. The next book was Fierce Self-Compassion by Dr. Kristen Neff. And this was a non-fiction. And if you've been around on this channel, you know that I keep telling myself I'm not going to read any more self-help non-fiction books because they drive me up the wall. I can see why they'd be good for other people, but it just doesn't work for me. I've probably read about 10 self-help non-fictions, and I've probably enjoyed 1, maybe 2, maybe. If you want to see my non-fiction tier ranking from last year, I'll link it up on one of these sides. And the same thing happened again with this one. I struggled through this book. This one is also so long. I think it's something like 15 hours, whereas usually non-fiction, especially self-help books, are like 6 if you're lucky. And I put the speed up of the audiobook because I just needed to get through it. And again, I can see that there would be good things in there. There were definitely like nuggets of information, I suppose, that you can use. But it was just nothing new for me. And it was very feminist, which I am a feminist and I am very passionate about that. But I feel like reading this didn't actually help or give context to things. It was just reminding me of the things that already aggravate me. And so it was just making me more aggravated and not actually giving me any solutions or just, I struggled through this book. I struggled. And then, onto something a little bit nicer. I mentioned, I think last month, that I read a Julie Kaplan book, which was called The Something Cafe in Copenhagen. The Little Cafe in Copenhagen, I think, and I really enjoyed it, even though it wasn't anything special. It was just a light, easy read. And that I then discovered during my favourites that there were a bunch more and I wanted to read them in order. I got through another 3. And I did get to read them in order. Now, the one thing I will say is I feel like each book, as we go along, it gets a bit more, I can't think of the right word, inappropriate. And all of these are romances, and that's a choice. You know, I knew that going into the first book, and I'm now reading the rest, and that's fine. Even though I don't experience romance in the same way that a lot of people do, I still enjoy reading it, usually. Although I genuinely do sometimes struggle to like understand the characters' behaviours because I don't relate at all. But I feel like with each book, it's just got more, to me, more ridiculous. Anyway, let me talk about each one individually. So the first one I read this month, which was the second book, was The Little Brooklyn Bakery. And what I wrote for this one was enjoyed, but a bit too much. Not that I enjoyed it too much, but just that there was a little bit too much happening in the book that I didn't enjoy reading. And one thing I really, really struggled with, and I have struggled with this all my life whenever a character is written like this, there is a character who is introduced quite early on who is quote unquote drop dead gorgeous. Actually, that might not be a direct quote, but implied. Drop dead gorgeous. The girls can't keep their eyes off him. They're all throwing themselves at him. You know, they're totally, truly head over heels and cannot stop themselves. And as a demi-romantic, meaning I don't experience romance in the same way or romantic attraction, and as a demisexual, so I don't experience sexual attraction in the same way, I just cannot comprehend that. For the life of me. For the life of me, I cannot imagine someone looking so good that they, you know, that everyone just throws themselves at them. I cannot comprehend it, and it made it really frustrating to read because I'm like, this isn't real. And maybe it is, and maybe that's just a me problem. Well, I don't want to say problem because not being hetero is fine. But yeah, But aside from that, I did enjoy the book. It was sweet, it was nice to read. One thing I really like about these books is that they bring you into different locations, and obviously I love that. And on the whole, I liked the characters. Like, it was cute, it was fine. The next one was The Little Paris Patisserie, which I loved by the end, but definitely there were things I really didn't enjoy. And I could see how it was gonna go. I started reading it, and by this point, this was my third Julie Kaplan book, so I could see the exact story that was gonna unfold, which is fine. Again, this is a choice. But there was something very early on in the book, and I was like, I know exactly where this is going, and it did go exactly that way. And I didn't mind that, but at the start of the book when that thing happened and I knew how it was gonna go, in my head, I was like, surely not. Like, we can't do this. This doesn't work for me. That doesn't matter. It's how the book went. But the fourth book redeemed that for me a little bit. So what I've figured out so far, as I've read 4 books now, is each 2 seem to be connected. And not hugely, like you'd be fine reading each one standalone, but just they'll refer to characters or to storylines that have already been mentioned, which I quite like. I quite like that there's like a nod of like, it's the same universe. So the fourth one was The Northern Lights Lodge, and first of all, I just wrote cute. I just thought this was a sweet book. I enjoyed it. I liked it. It was comfortable, you know, there was something about it. And there was an element of mystery, which we haven't had yet, so I enjoyed that as well. But this book, one of the characters was one of the characters from the previous book, and they gave this character the opportunity that I would have wanted to see in the previous book. I'm trying really hard to keep it vague so I don't spoil things. So yeah, there are things to enjoy about these books and there are things to struggle through, but it's on the whole, I will keep reading them because they are just cozy reads. They just make me happy. And again, I enjoy going to the different places and the different worlds, or the same world actually. Moving on to musicals, I got to see 2 this month. The first one was quite early on in the month and it was Hello Dolly, and with Imelda Staunton. And I think I saw the movie during lockdown. I think that's when I knew the song and I knew things about it, but the first time I actually came into contact fully with it was during lockdown. And I think I remember enjoying the movie but not being blown away by it, which probably is like treachery to some people. But at the time I was watching a lot of stuff and I don't remember it sort of sticking in my mind as something incredible. And I saw this at the London Palladium, which is a huge theatre that I've never been to before, and I loved it. I loved just being in the theatre. Like, it was just so cool. And I loved seeing Imelda Staunton because I've never seen her in anything except Harry Potter. And I loved seeing a show that was just so classically Broadway. I see a lot of shows and I'm very grateful for that, but a lot of them are a bit more modern, a bit more contemporary, and I love them, but it was so nice to see something that was just authentically Broadway. In terms of the costumes, in terms of the singing, in terms of the chorus, in terms of the dancing. Wow, I loved seeing the dancing. I am a huge fan of commercial dance and I've really enjoyed seeing more of that in musical theatre in the past year, but seeing just like classical jazz and, you know, theatre, just theatre, Broadway, it made me very happy. So yeah, I enjoyed it. And then, right at the end of the month, we went to see Fiddler on the Roof. I grew up with this film. I have spoken about this in a vlog somewhere, but I grew up with Fiddler on the Roof just ingrained in my soul. as you may have gathered, I'm Jewish, and this is just such a quintessentially Jewish show. And again, there's not really that much explaining that they do, but they do obviously show it, so it's a bit different. And going to see it, oh, this was my first time ever seeing it live, and it was just, I have no words. It was so, so special. And it was very touch and go with the weather because it was at Regent's Park Open Air Theatre. But we made it through the entire show, and it was just gorgeous. It was stunning. I really hope it gets a revival or another chance to shine in London or the UK, because not just there, everywhere in the world, but I'd like to see it again because it just made me very happy. Alrighty then, for music I've got two. Number one is they've released 3 demo songs from Why Am I So Single, which is a musical I saw last month. And I've really enjoyed listening to those 3 songs, and I'm waiting for them to release more, but I really, really enjoy it. And then Dodie, my good friend Dodie, who I have been obsessed with her music for a very long time, and it's so nice to have new music from her because she's been busy with a band in the past year. She released a song called Someone Was Listening, and it's beautiful. I love it. I've just really been enjoying listening to it. I think it's only been out a week, but yeah, I'm happy. On to fashion. I'm telling you, this is a long one. Okay, we've got 2 fashiony things. Actually 3. Number 1 is a top that I got, as in I bought it from a charity shop for £3.50, and it does everything I wanted to do and more. Plus it was £3.50. Number 2 is another top that I actually got from my mum about 18 months ago, but have never worn until this month. And again, it's actually lovely, lovely material, and I really enjoy wearing it. And the reason I'm being vague about these and not actually showing you is because you will see them in other videos later on, but I don't know when, and you'll see. You'll just see. Subscribe to stay tuned. And then the third fashiony thing is a necklace I got from my grandma, and it's just very simple. It's silver and it's got the letter R, which is my name, well, my initial. And I've been wearing it a lot since I got it because I was wearing my Magen David, my Star of David necklace a lot. See, there I go explaining things again. I was wearing it a lot this time last year, and it was sort of my like comfort piece of jewellery as someone who has never worn much jewellery. And then October the 7th hit, and with rising anti-Semitism, I just don't feel I can. So it's nice to have another plain necklace that I can just wear on the daily without needing to worry about being attacked. Yay. And finally, I've got 2 things for travel. Number 1 is Lake Como in Italy. I went to visit. There's a vlog somewhere. I don't know if it's before or after this video has come out, but again, stick around to find out about it. It was gorgeous. I loved it. And number 2 was sort of the square in Milan where the Duomo is. That's all we visited of Milan, more or less. I mean, we walked sort of in the rectangle, but that's it. But I thoroughly enjoyed that too. And actually, I've not included in food, but like everything I ate in Italy deserves to be included in food. And last but not least, every month I give a song of the month, just either something that I've sung a lot or listened to a lot or have just been aware of. And this month, it's a 3-way tie, but I think I'm gonna go for Just In Case from Why Am I So Single. The tie was with the other 2 released demo songs, but I think Just In Case, I mean, all of them are great, but Just In Case really, it's beautiful. I think it's very good. Thank you for listening to me yap on and on and on. And I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know, as I said before, let me know what you enjoyed this month, and I will see you in the next video, probably quite soon. Bye!